Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along to another episode of British Speedway's official podcast. No brakes, no fear. Coming up in this episode, we hear from Nigel Tolley. It's been a turbulent week for the Birmingham Brummies on and off track. And we speak to the Birmingham CEO.
We're losing Perry Barr. I shall never give up. I shall never give up on Brummies. And we shall be looking for other venues, as we have done for the last 2 or 3 years.
We've got reaction from the three fixtures on Monday night in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. Plus, we hear from Joe Thompson, who's back in Premiership Speedway with the Leicester Lions and lining up for the qualifiers for SGP2 in Glasgow on Saturday. Good news and bad news. Bad news is it's at the expense of his brother, who's on the sidelines. The good news is he's riding his brother's bikes.
He invested really heavily over winter with a good friend and sponsor of ours, helped him out a lot, so he's lent me all of that equipment while he's on the sidelines to try and help me progress how he's done this year, so looking forward to it, and hopefully it'll be a big meeting for me.
Busy time at Glasgow, under-21 finals, SGP2 qualifiers, and the Glasgow Tigers undefeated in the competitive part of the season in the Cab Direct Championship and the BSN Series. We hear from director of Glasgow Tigers, Peter Facenna.
And we've got a really good team spirit. You know, that's one of the key things. I know every team says it and we say it every year, but genuinely, you know, doing the pre-season camp really helps. The boys get to know each other and they're all out encouraging each other between races and before races. So yeah, so far so good.
All that and much more to come in this week's episode of British Speedway's official podcast.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome to another episode of No Brakes, No Fear, a packed episode as well. On the way, we've got Nigel Tolley, CEO of the Birmingham Brummies, and what's been, a sad week for the Brummies. And we'll hear from Glasgow Tigers director Peter Facenna. At the other end of the spectrum, it's looking good in Glasgow with the Under-21 final last weekend and SGP2 qualifier this weekend, and not least Glasgow Tigers going well also. So Peter Facenna on the way in a bit. First of all, reaction from Monday night's meetings in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership, and on TV the cameras were at the National Speedway Stadium and they saw Bellevue Aces now just 1 point off top spot in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership after a 52-38 win over Leicester in Manchester. The Aces taking all 3 points from the meeting after a narrow defeat in the reverse fixture meant that they took the aggregate bonus point as well. Dan Bewley led the way with 13+1 from 5 rides, combining with Brady Kurtz, who got 9 for a thrilling 5-1 over Max Frick in Heat 13, which secured the league points, whilst Jamin Lidsey scored 10+1 before breaking the tapes in Heat 15. Frick scored 9 for the Lions, but battled hard, who were only able to provide 4 Heat wins from their 3-match run of victories, which comes to an end now. Let's get some reaction then. Rider of the night was Jamin Lidsey.
The start of the night was okay, but the track was a bit different to what we've had previously, but in the end it was good.
You had a dominant meeting tonight as a team. I sort of spoke to Mark Lim before, and it's, you know, you guys normally come strong later in the meeting, and it's always trying to get that track just right. So you said it's a little bit different, but as a team, you all dominated on the track tonight.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it's a bit different, but it's still always very similar, and we've always got, a similar bike set up, all of us. But, to have Brady and Dan in the team, Brady's leading the World Championship at the moment. Dan's, very good in the Grand Prix. So to have them in the team, it's so solid. And, me and Zach in the engine room, Zach's found some form at the moment. I think he's got some different equipment now and is doing quite well. So that's good. And the reserves are doing their part as well. So all in all, the team effort's been good the last, few months. We had at the very start of the year, had a bit of a hiccup, but I think that was more of a slap in the face and, ready for the season, and everything's going good.
You certainly had a good night. I don't want to dwell on the Heat 15, but how difficult is it to just kind of twitch at the start when there's so much riding on it?
Oh, it's the last heat of the night. It's always a tough one, but, when someone's moving on next to you, it's just the peripheral visions, kicks in. It's just, just on edge. But as I said, it's a pilot error, my mistake, and we'll move on from now and hopefully no more for the rest of the year.
Yeah, these things happen in Speedway. So there's Jamin Lindsay chatting to Scott Nichols on TNT Sports. And also here now from Kyle Howarth, who's been a little bit under the weather recently and a bit of an injury as well in the last week. He's chatting to Abby Stevens.
Look, I give 100%, but it's not my most favourite place. But I give it everything, and yeah, I'll take that. Obviously, I thought I rode well tonight for myself on a personal note, but yeah, I normally struggle here, so I'll take that.
There were some tough first corners, particularly with you and Tate. There was some elbow out.
Yeah, that's what it's about, first corners, and you got to stick it out there. And obviously Tate wasn't backing down, and I wasn't. And yeah, look, it's racing, and we both come off and shake each other's hand and respect. So no, fair play.
Oh, good. Did he say anything? Did he say that I just need to learn from you?
No, he just, it's how it is. He just put his hands up, and we have some good battles. And tonight, the first corners were crucial. And I don't really know what happened in the Heat 15. I just turned because Bewley made it, and I turned, and as I turned, I don't know, we just met. So, but after that, that's what it is.
And you're not even 100%, Carl, and we spoke. You said, the chest infection is still impacting you. So, amazing effort. You're such great value on the track and around the pits as well as a teammate.
Yeah, like I said, I have been struggling the past 3 weeks. I had a chest infection and flu, and it really did knock me. And, being a speeder rider, you do a lot of travelling, and you don't really get a lot of time to just sit home and rest. So it really did knock me, to be honest. And but no, I'm back, and I'm getting there. And like my riding style says it all. I give 100%, and yeah, that's how it is.
So a 3-match unbeaten streak comes to an end for the Leicester Lions, and the Bellevue Aces then closing the gap on the Ipswich Witches. Still a long way to go. Twists and turns to come. Let's get the reaction from the two team managers, though. Mark Lemon and Stuart Dixon in conversation with Scott Nichols.
Yeah, we know there's different challenges here. The National Speedway Stadium, the track, it does, throw up, optional race lines, and obviously the boys have got to be really on it, because as soon as you miss a change, you can be very vulnerable and find yourself at the back. So tonight they'll at the upper hand. The ATPI Aces were flying, so the boys have done really good.
How important is that relationship between you, the boys, and the track staff? Because we know what riders like. You never please all of them, but it's a fine line between getting it right and getting it wrong.
Yeah, there's challenges every day, and especially like the last couple of weeks has been the climate here sort of became more southern hemisphere, shall I say? But no, there's, like I said, there's always challenges, and you have to sort of keep on top of it. Like there's never a perfect science for this game, and as long as they're aware of that, they have to adapt at certain particular times. I think that's the key to it, because if you get complacent, you're going to get better.
Stuart, we knew it was going to be tough. Bellevue are strong at home. You kind of threw everything at it, but it didn't quite pay off. What's going to be the talk after?
I think just remain sensible. Sometimes you can come here and you can have good nights and bad nights. It's just for a visiting team. It never quite happened for us tonight. I look at the programme, and most of the riders have had one good race, but you need 2 or 3 good races for all the riders if you're going to stand a chance. Being with a better team tonight, we can only just draw a line under it and move on to Thursday at Ipswich. I've said to the guys, there's no point in all shouting mad with each other, getting too intense about the whole thing. It's one of those things. Bellevue is a good team. We know how tough it is to come here. We We have other realistic challenges, and that's not been disrespectful to the rest of the league. Means that I will target for points. Tonight probably wasn't one of them, but I would have liked a better showing on TNT, and I would have liked the tactical to work, which normally do, but it didn't come up good tonight, unfortunately.
And how important is it for you to go away from tonight, they say, and be constructive, not let the boys keep their heads down, learn from it so you can come back stronger next time?
Yeah, I've already been walking about the pitch in between heat 14, 15 and talking to you guys, and just going around them all and saying, we've got another meeting on Thursday night. Let's not get too uptight. It's one meeting. We'd won with 2 points at home. To get anything here tonight, we knew it was a big ask. We would have liked it, but I think we remain sensible. We have other sensible targets to go for. Thursday night being one of them.
There's also been a change among the Leicester Lions ranks, with rising star Dan Gilkes on the sidelines. They've moved to bring in Joe Thompson back to, of course, his former side, a side that he really cut his teeth in Speedway at over many years through the junior ranks. And Joe Thompson lines up as rising star, at least for the next 28 days, until they find out a little more about Dan Gilkes' prognosis, if you like, on how long he's going to be on the sidelines. Had an impressive performance in the Under-21 final at Glasgow. And also, a bit of news for you. He will be in for his brother Dan in the SGP2 qualifier. He's been having a chat with Phil Lanning.
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously a small world, and you never know what's going to happen. So I was really happy when Leicester offered me the 28-day contract. It's nice to be busy. I think it definitely helps in terms of bike time and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more meetings in.
One of the things that really stands out about you and your brother, I alluded to the fact that you've had such a difficult time with different clubs and going in and out of different leagues, but your attitude has been exemplary during that period of time. You've just taken it on the chin and said, hey, it's fine, it's just the way Speedway works. Has that really helped you? Do you feel that mentally get stronger as time has gone on?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you spend so much time beating yourself up about it, it's you're just not moving forward. I think you can dwell on it, but each day is a new day, and you've got to look at new possibilities of moving forward like we do. So yeah, it's not too bad.
One of the things I spoke to you about just after the meeting at Ashfield was the strange dynamic of racing in a big meeting with your brother, who then gets injured in his first ride, and how you deal with that as a family, because you're very close, the two of you, but it obviously didn't seem to affect you points-wise. But, just talk me through that. How difficult is that to see? Are you able just to switch off and become just another Speedway rider at that point?
Yeah, it's obviously tough to know that Dan was hurting while I was racing, but it's part of the game. He's been there and done it while I was at when I broke my collarbone. He had to carry on, so it's one of them things. We obviously feel for each other if things do go wrong, but still want each other to do well regardless.
And we must ask, how is Dan? Obviously we know he's broken his scaphoid, but hopefully it's not too long a layoff.
Yeah, he's in good spirits. He's still happy. He's just obviously a shame he can't be racing, but he's lent me all of his top equipment so far already.
every cloud.
Yeah, I've got everything off his bikes for today, so because he wants me to do the best I can today. So yeah, hopefully it works for me.
And we should say as well, the fact that one of the odd occurrences, the fact that your brother's injured, is the fact that you've got his place in the SGP2 qualifier at Glasgow on Saturday. So a really odd situation, but obviously Dan will want you to do well, and as I say, if you're using his equipment as well, that's really good for you.
Yeah, definitely. He invested really heavily over winter with a good friend and sponsor of ours, helped him out a lot, so he's lent me all of that equipment while he's on the sidelines to try and help me progress how he's done this year. So looking forward to it, and hopefully it'll be a big meeting for me.
And obviously, before the Under-21, you did some practice laps at Ashfield the week before. You obviously done well in the British Under-21. You must, of all the places to go to be probably what is the biggest meeting of your career to date, you must be happy going back to Glasgow.
Yeah, definitely. It's I've never really had much bike time around there, so to be riding there so frequently over the last few weeks has been awesome. It's a great track, and I love going there, so to be there almost 3 times in 3 weeks or so will be a nice feeling. So yeah, I'll give it my all and see what I can do.
Well, listen, we wish you all the very best on Saturday. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So, yeah, busy times for Joe Thompson all of a sudden. How quickly things can change in Speedway. But grabbing the opportunities that are coming his way, lining up for the Leicester Lions. And next up for Leicester, it's a clash against the top of the table. The Ipswich Witches line weight on Thursday night in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. Ipswich, meanwhile, overcame their injury problems to retain leadership of the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership after a 49-41 win at bottom side Birmingham. The Witches were without Jason Doyle and Dan Thompson following their weekend crashes, but they still got the job done at Perry Bar despite several mechanical issues. Reserve Jordan Jenkins starring with 11+1, Tom Brennan picking up 10+2 against the club he rode for last season to get the visitors back to winning ways after they were narrowly beaten at Sheffield last week. For the Brummies, skipper Tobias Mujalak racked up 16 points in a losing cause for the team. Winning his last 5 outings, though, after a slow start to the meeting, but the next highest scorer was Paco Castagna on 7. Well, a lot of those riders I've just mentioned we are about to hear from. Let's start by hearing from the Ipswich rising star who delivered double figures, Jordan Jenkins with Ryan Guest.
The Witches back to winning ways here at Birmingham tonight. The camp's thoughts after that one?
Yeah, we went to Sheffield. We knew it was going to be the toughest test of the season, and I think a 2-point defeat at their place, we can take that. It is a win for us effectively, and we're happy with that. Obviously, losing Dan and Jason over the weekend was a massive blow, and everyone's seeing how good Dan's been going, and I'll try and nick his engines or something for the next week or two. But no, he's been flying. It's really sad to see that he's injured, and hopefully it's not too long and he can come back in a little bit of treatment and start scoring the points he was.
Finished 49-41 here at Perry Bar tonight, but should have been more, shouldn't it? Because the team suffered so many engine problems and mechanical problems along the way.
Yeah, I think Richie said during the interval we had thrown away 8 points up until that point, and then obviously Adam went and his spark plug cap came off, so I have no idea what's happened tonight. Strange one for sure, but we got the job done, and we don't need to worry about that as long as the problems are fixed in the workshop for Thursday.
I know obviously Birmingham have got their own issues, their own problems going on, but like you say, to come here without Doyley, without Dan, and still rally round everyone chipping in, it shows what's special about this Ipswich team this year.
No, it does, and everyone saw how close they pushed us last time, and to come and even with mechanicals still win by 7 or whatever it was is it's good. It just shows the spirit that we have in the camp, and on track what Richie said it's going to be tough, and Chris went, well, it's not. We're going to do what we normally do, and it's going to be all right. And it played out that way. The track was a little bit different today. It was quite wet at the beginning, but a little bit more material on it, and there's a few different lines come the end.
A really positive night for yourself down at reserve as well. 11+1 from 5 rides as well. So you're obviously delighted going back home tonight.
Yeah, I am. I needed that one. Last few weeks have been tough, mentally, physically. Everyone knows I had a bit of a tip off at Oxford the other week, and I've not really felt good since that. I can say that it didn't affect me, but I hit my back, and everyone knows I broke my back, and it's one of them. It wasn't a nasty crash, it was a slide off, but I was in quite a bit of pain, and a week off done me good. And then I had an engine come back from service that it wasn't the same as it went. I don't know what it is, and changed a few bits the last few days, put some seats on from 2023, and just little tweaks, used an engine I haven't used all year, and come in with a fresh mindset, and I know if I make the gate I've got plenty of speed, so I feel a lot more comfortable on the bike, and probably the most comfortable I've felt in a long time.
And the only thing that could make tonight better is if you can now back it up on home trail on Thursday against Leicester, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It gives me a lot of confidence, there's no doubt about it. I hate this place, so to get paid 12 around here is good. So hopefully, a lot of confidence going home tonight, and a couple of days to get everything sorted, and we'll go to Ipswich on Thursday. That's going to be another tough test, real tough. But hopefully I can make some good starts and show the speed I had tonight.
Well, another of the success stories from that Witches side was Tom Brennan, back to full form, and he too has been having a chat to Ryan after he faced his former side, the Birmingham Brummies.
We kind of dropped a lot of points that we shouldn't have. I mean, we had a lot of machine failures while leading and while in good points positions, so kind of the result doesn't really show what actually we did.
Yeah, I was going to say, you won by 8 points, should have been a lot more as well because of those, but is that just one of those things, or was it anything in particular that was rectified in the pits?
just very strange things happening. I mean, we had a spark plug like fail. We also had my throttle cable snapped, which was very I mean, you don't really hear that. And other things, just where we have my machine failure chain come off, and little things that wouldn't normally happen, but we managed to dig deep. Everybody kept really calm. The atmosphere here in Ipswich is absolutely brilliant, so we managed to stay relaxed and calm thanks to Richie and obviously Chris. So, good, happy.
I was going to ask you about that as well, because obviously you're the only brand new face in the team. I know you did a couple of guest bookings towards the end of last season, but you really seem to have slotted in like you've been here a long, long time.
It feels like that, it really does. I mean, this is a club that I've really wanted to be a part of from the outside looking in, and I really wish I'd have made that decision earlier.
Yeah, Thursday night, Leicester at home. Like you say, it's going to be a tough challenge, but Leicester can obviously push anyone on the day. So, your thoughts going into that one on Thursday night?
Every team's tough, whether they're tough on paper or not. So it's just another meeting for us. We have to try and put our heads down and obviously keep calm. Leicester are a very, very strong team. So pop out those starts and see what we can do.
So there's Tom Brennan. Let's hear from the other side of the pits then, the home side. Once again, for the Birmingham Brummies, another loss. They are without a win so far in 2025. Let's hear from team captain Tobias Musilak, who himself, actually after a bit of a dodgy start, racked up quite a few points and finished with 16 in total. Here he is chatting to Ryan Guest.
It's very frustrating, another lose, but I don't know what to say actually. We've been struggling a bit, but I see some guys struggling with the setups. Mate he was very pumped and motivated to the meeting, but I think lack of racing for him. He needs to come back here a couple of times and he will be all right. But it's not good. Another lose.
And like you say, it was a strange one as well, because Ipswich obviously feeling a bit flat, losing Jason Doyle and Dan Thompson, who's been in form. But from the Brummies' point of view, obviously Michael has been banging the points in, hasn't he? So losing him for the team for the rest of the season, quitting UK racing, that was a real big blow for Birmingham.
Absolutely, he was the one we needed, and such a shame that we lost him, but it was his decision, and we need to respect it, and that's it. And we want to bounce back, but it's gonna be difficult. Another one. I don't know where actually, but we need to keep focus and heads up, because if we going to make our chins down, it's gonna be worse. So we need to keep focus, motivate ourselves, and then we'll be only that way we can only win.
Definitely. For yourself as well, it was a busy night, 7 rides in the end. You finished with 16 points, rounding off with 5 straight race wins. But I suppose you're going to tell me as well, you're more frustrated by those first 2, but because of how long it took you to get dialed in.
Yeah, first couple was nightmare for me, and I'm a bit struggling in the beginning of the meetings in here, because it's so wet, and I don't know what setup to use, and I don't know how to race. So and then it's alright, but still trying to find something for beginning of the matches, and frustrated match.
Well, if there were positives to be taken, one of the new signings, Paco Castagna, bagged himself his best score so far, 7 points. And of course, he's actually new to Premiership Speedway, his first ever Premiership level contract for the popular Italian. And he's been reflecting on what might have been on Monday night.
It's just a shame that we lost. I thought that we had enough power to win the meeting. And after a good start, I felt like I was helping the team and everybody was okay. But we didn't score in some areas, and that hurt us a lot, obviously. I had a couple of bike problems here and there, and I know I lost a couple of points, but it's just a shame. It's just a shame.
Yeah, I know obviously Ipswich were running rider replacement for Doyley as well, but they have got a lot of strength in depth. So obviously from Birmingham's point of view, running rider replacement for a heat leader in Michael Jepsen Jensen, who's obviously been the team's top scorer this season, it was always going to be tough against the team who've been in so much form.
Yeah, the situation was very similar. Obviously we are talking about one of the best riders in the world in Doyley, and of course we wish him all the best. But it's just a shame. I want to stay positive, obviously, because personally I had had a good night, and it's just a shame that we lost. But again, they were very strong, and we just didn't score in some areas. But hopefully we can win from the next one.
I was going to say, look at the positives yourself. Back in the Premiership is a big plus for yourself. You've scored in each of your rides tonight, 7 points, so it's a good feeling on an individual basis at least.
Yeah, it's my first ever Premiership contract, so I've only done a couple of guest bookings during the last couple of years, and that was it. So, everything is new. Number 2 is very difficult, very difficult. We didn't have the time to do anything on the bike. Luckily, I had a good setup and made a couple of starts, and I felt I was very fast. I felt like I was faster than some of them, and I know that I lost a couple of points here and there, but I'm very happy, and I'm happy that Birmingham gave me the chance, because I feel like I deserve to be in this league as well. So it's good and it's positive. So again, head up and looking forward to a busy week again.
Yeah, let's keep moving in the right direction. Paco, well done tonight.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. See you later.
There's a few days before Birmingham's next fixture, but it is a busy bank holiday weekend coming up, and we'll run through the full programme shortly. The other news from Birmingham, of course, as well as the fact that they've announced their closure, which we'll cover more shortly with Nigel Tolley, is that, having welcomed Mate Zagar back into their team for when they faced Ipswich on Monday, that came 24 hours after the news that Michael Jepsen Jensen had stood down from UK racing. Jepsen Jensen said, "The truth is, I've realised that what I need right now isn't more racing. I need a clear head, strong fitness, time to go for bike rides and runs, and to trust the process I'm following. Even with our tough results, I've enjoyed the experience and could definitely see it happening again in future, at a better time and under better circumstances. Thanks to everyone who's supported me through this, especially the club for giving me the chance." So Michael Jepsen Jensen exits the Birmingham Brummies. What will happen there, we will wait and find out. They have a 14-day facility, which the clock is running on that now, so it'll be a lot less than that, where they need to decide what the long-term plan will be in his absence. And I say we'll hear more from Nigel Tolley, the CEO of the Birmingham Brummies, in a short while. One final point on the Ipswich Witches. Of course, 2 key injuries have happened to the Ipswich Witches lineup over the course of the last weekend. Dan Thompson in the Under-21 final and Jason Doyle in the Grand Prix in Warsaw, currently on the sidelines. And to get a bit of an update on how that might affect things, here's Chris Louis.
Yeah, look, we're staying positive. The boys are all positive. I think this year, I hope the difference is it's come early. On the face of it, they don't seem too bad. It's never the right thing to say when you've got 2 guys injured, but it could be worse. And so hopefully, the theory is they'll get fit, they'll get back, they'll get confident, and we'll peak at the right time this time.
So one other fixture that was taking place, it was a busy night on Monday night. There was the action which was taking place at Kings Lynn, and Sheffield collected their first away win of the Row Motor All Premiership season this year, with a hard-earned 48-42 victory at the Adrian Flux Arena. Former Stars racer Louis Kerr was the key man for Sheffield. He racked up 16+1 from 6 rides at reserve, winning his first 5 outings in tremendous performance on his old track. Chris and Jack Holder then steered the visitors to victory with a 5-1 in Heat 13, then a 4-2 in Heat 15 after the Stars took maximum points in Heat 14 to give themselves an outside chance of rescuing it. The Holder brothers both scored 9+1 to back up Louis Kerr's efforts, whilst the Lynn captain Nikolai Klint scored 12 from 7 rides, Jan Kvek adding 10+1. Team managers now, let's hear from Rob Lyon of the Kings Lynn Stars first of all, speaking to Craig Saul.
Yeah, I just said the problem with this team is the way it's built. You can't cover RR very well, especially the lower end of the team, and we got found out tonight with that. 3 paid 4 from Ben's rides is just not enough, and we were outbeaten, better team won on the night, but Louis Kerr had a terrific night, and he was probably the difference.
Obviously looking to regroup, you can do it in a hurry because you're at Birmingham next Monday, and obviously looking to get that first away win on the board to take into June.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a little bit sore at the moment, to be honest, but can't really see any further than tomorrow, to be quite honest, Craig, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, we just got to go again, I suppose.
For the Sheffield Tigers then, it's been quite the week, becoming the first team in 2025 to defeat the league leaders Ipswich. last Thursday. A tremendous Heat 15 finale for them there. And then the Tigers then maintaining that momentum with that win against Kings Lynn on Monday night to establish themselves firmly amongst the pace setters. Let's hear from team manager Simon Stead.
Well, it took the full 15 races to get this one over the line, but the bottom line is that Sheffield come away with 3 points.
Yeah, that's right. It was, look, we couldn't quite get any distance between us and Kings Lynn, but a real team performance tonight got the job done.
Team performance, you say, but surely man of the match, Louis Kerr, what a return to his home track.
Yeah, outstanding. Really good. I'm pleased for him because he's putting in a lot of hard work since coming back for us, and yeah, he's doing a really good job. So yeah, big shout out. But yeah, great performance from him. But you know, collectively, it was where we got it done.
And sets the Tigers up very nicely. Oxford on the road on Thursday, and then home to Leicester on Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah, well, look, we just got to keep it rolling. Good result today. New day on Thursday, but hopefully same result.
Yeah, the Sheffield Tigers taking on the Oxford Spires on Thursday. That fixture will be live on BSN. Ipswich versus Leicester, the other fixtures we mentioned earlier on. And then looking ahead to Bank Holiday Monday, it's a busy programme. Bellevue taking on Oxford at 12 o'clock. And then we've got fixtures in the evening, Sheffield versus Leicester and Birmingham versus Kings Lynn. Birmingham Kings Lynn starts at 7:30. Sheffield Leicester starts at 6:30. They're doing another double header with the National Development League fixture between the Steelers and Leicester at Sheffield following the Premiership fixture. So 2 fixtures in one on Bank Holiday Monday is how things are set to be. So we've been talking a lot about Birmingham. Obviously there's a lot of news about Birmingham at the moment. They're closing down at the end of the season. We know that. There's been a lot of turmoil with riders. We're going to hear from the man at the top, right involved in all of it, CEO Nigel Tolley, in conversation next on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. Still to come, Peter Facenna of the Glasgow Tigers, looking ahead to the SGP2 qualifier they've got there, their first FIM event for quite some time, and also looking back on the British Under-21 final, which was a big success last weekend and won by Sam Hagan, and we'll hear a little bit from Sam Hagan as well, what was a fairly spectacular end to the Under-21 final. Right now, though, let's turn our attention to the Birmingham Brummies, because a sad week for the Brummies, really. We've heard about their woes on the track, which continue, but off the track doesn't get much better either at the moment, and they've announced that the end of this season, that will be it for the Birmingham Brummies, certainly in this era, certainly the one at Perry Bar, with the Perry Bar Stadium set to get redeveloped in future, and the Greyhounds announcing that they're moving out and heading off to a new venue. Leave Speedway as the only tenant, really. The lease is up, and we're going to hear more about the situation from Nigel Tolley, the CEO of the Birmingham Brummies, who's had a sit-down chat with Ryan Guest.
So Nigel, obviously the news coming out on Friday that this will be Birmingham's last season competing in British Speedway in 2025. I don't think it was necessarily a massive shock, because it was always one of those that almost had got a limited life with everything that's going on around Perry Bar Stadium.
We've explored absolutely every avenue, every possible avenue, and it still boils down to the fact that we're just not getting enough people in through the gates to take over the stadium full time. We might possibly at one stage have been able to have the stadium for another couple of years, but that means we've got it 24/7 all the way through the year, and we'd got to bring in a lot more revenue. And the way things were looking, there's just no way we could bring in that treble, quadruple revenue. So at the end, now, speaking to the people who are going to develop it, they've been as good as gold, by the way, all the way through. Now we've got no option. It's the end of Brummies at Perry Bar at the end of this season.
Like you say, the club has got some loyal band of supporters that go everywhere with the club. They stick through thick and thin. But like you say, even since stepping up into the Premiership, there just hasn't been the increase in numbers through the turnstiles. Even like when you signed Freddie Lindgren last year, you may see a sprinkling more Wolverhampton fans, for example, but nowhere near the numbers expected or required.
No, really and truly, it's ridiculous, you know, with the last remaining club in the Midlands, apart from Leicester. And we're getting an average of about 650 through the gates, and we need to clear 1,000. It's as simple as that.
People keep asking the question, if you're in the second city, if you're in such a busy part of the UK, why aren't you getting people through? But do you think that's because in an area like Birmingham, there's too much more else to do, perhaps?
There's other things to do, yes, but still, same old story. 90% of the population around Birmingham have never heard of Speedway. You know, I've tried myself, Facebook adverts, and that does work to some extent. I've noticed people now saying, it's too expensive now for Speedway. And you only get 15 minutes of racing. As opposed to football, you get 90. But hold on a minute, you don't get 90 minutes of football. You know, you probably don't get much more than 20 minutes in football. And the cost of that on the equivalent is a hell of a lot more than Speedway. So, yeah, I know we're going through an economic climate at the moment that isn't good. Everybody's mortgages are sky high and they haven't got spare money in the pockets. But they still managed to get to football, and I still can't work this out. Yeah, we've got our loyal supporters, and those are absolutely brilliant. The ones that bought the season tickets this year, without them, we wouldn't have been able to start this season probably. Then we've got the others that don't buy season tickets, are still coming along every week. They're absolutely brilliant. But we need to treble that.
Obviously, Birmingham have got volunteers who go to different lengths to try and get the name of the sport around, and every club has got them across British Speedway. But from your own personal point of view, what more do you think can be done to get the word of Speedway out there? Because we see the British final, the final race last week, so we all know, those of us involved, what a thrilling sport this can be.
Well, yeah, it's just a thrilling sport, and people, I've always said, get people to come along to 3 meetings, not just one, but 3 meetings. After the third meeting, you'd be hooked. You really would. And that's always been the case. But you look, one of the things, I've just thought about this in the last few days. Obviously you can't see it now because we're just recording, not video. What am I wearing now? This is the official top. Now, every Premier team has got these official tops. I stopped on the way back on the way to Oxford last fortnight ago, the services. I'd got this top on. I got this official outfit on. Where does it say Speedway on that? It doesn't say Speedway at all. Now, that was an audience I'd got down at Oxford services, and it suddenly occurred to me, so, well, how are they going to... They're all looking at me, so what's that? What's that? It doesn't say Speedway anyway. They didn't know it was Speedway. We need to get the word over. We need to get that word Speedway out there.
Coming back to Birmingham as well to expand on a few things. So obviously the situation with Perry Barr Greyhound Stadium and the planning permissions going through and everything else for this site. Something you spoke about 12 months ago. To the majority of people around here, it did seem like a bit of an ambitious pipeline dream almost. But the Alexander Stadium around the corner was something that you kept talking about over a period of time. So whatever happened with that, and was that something else that you have explored since knowing about the stadium?
We've completely explored that. We've been up to Alexander Stadium many times. I've been up there when there's been rugby meetings on, and to start off with, we thought that was going to be a possibility. First drawback on that, it costs the rugby club $6,500 a meeting to hire Alexander. We couldn't afford $6,500 a meeting. Plus, they were reluctant in the end to release their running track. There's 2 running tracks up there, one on the outside of the main stadium and the one inside. Originally, talking to the mayor, we thought there was a good possibility that they might forfeit that inside running track and we could make that a speedway track. But that wasn't ever really going to happen. There was a big protest about that. No, you can't have the indoor. And so we looked at the outside one. But again, there was all sorts of drawbacks with that. I mean, yeah, ideally, if it had all gone according to plan, they'd have agreed to relinquish that running track inside the stadium. The stadium is absolutely superb. It would have been a good alternative to Cardiff for the British Grand Prix. We could have put a track in there, no problem, but then it still comes back to the fact that it was going to cost us $6,500, and that was 12, 18 months back, $6,500 a meeting. You know, we just couldn't afford that.
Also the local council at Birmingham as well. I know motorsports fans in the region will know about the Wheels project, or the Wheels Raceway as it used to be as well. Have you had any communication with the council? Have you heard anything off them, or what do you know about their attitude towards motorsport here in what is classed as the second city?
Well, yeah, they want to keep Speedway. Oh, that is what they're saying on the officially, but they don't seem to be working very hard on it. We haven't. I mean, we're losing Perry Bar. I shall never give up. I shall never give up on Brummies. And we shall be looking for other venues, as we have done for the last 2 or 3 years. And the Wheels project still is a possibility. The next stage on that, I think, is to work further with the Birmingham City Football Club, and because apparently they don't need all of the land up there. So yeah, that is a possibility that we shall have to look into further. I still haven't given up with Alexander Stadium. There's a lot of possibilities. I shan't give up. No, I shan't disappear from Speedway as soon as Perry Bar's gone.
Even if you did find new land and something like that, you're not just going to magic these supporters overnight, are you? So are you still going to look for something in the Midlands area, or would you like to still be involved moving forward in another club somewhere? Where you're at right now, what are you thinking?
First and foremost is to keep Brummies alive. And it's a matter of looking into somewhere around this area somewhere for another track. And ideally a stadium that's already there, and perhaps an ex-running club, etc. Maybe smaller, but we can still put a track of the same size in. And in all probability, it would mean going back to the Championship. I don't think there's a future in Premiership any further in Birmingham. So, yeah, it's a matter of still looking. I'm sure there are sites out there, maybe even combined. I mean, there's another possibility is working with CVS and others to form another, if you like, another equivalent to National Speedway Stadium, and having several clubs there, maybe Birmingham, Wolverhampton and Coventry, all operating out of the same stadium.
And if I had to put you on the spot and ask you, how realistic do you think that is, if you were talking in terms of percentages of making that happen?
I would say, I don't know, it's a 75% chance. I shan't give up on it. And I'm sure there is somewhere. I think more of the probability of it happening is how long it's going to take. Whether it's going to take 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And we've got to see how Speedway is going then. I mean, another of the problems is to build another basic stadium like Workington. You know, our sums tell us it would cost around about £250,000. Well, you've got to justify spending £250,000 on a basic stadium. And as it stands at the moment, you'd never get a return on that £250,000, and you might lose all of the £250,000.
So, would you not be better off parking this project and moving on elsewhere?
Moving on to what?
As in, there's obviously other clubs, other opportunities come up. You're classed as a CEO here at Birmingham, but obviously co-promoter as well. So, like you say, you still see a future in Speedway, but with everything you're talking about and all the dreams and obviously what needs to make it happen, would it not be easier to try and step into somewhere that's already up and running?
Well, I know I keep saying that I call a spade and I say exactly what's going on. But there's certain things at the moment which I can't say, which will be released probably towards the end of the year.
OK, we'll wait and see with that. On team matters here at Birmingham as well, I think you've had your fair share of dramas since you took over the Brummies as well. Obviously, we've finally got you through the Matty Zagar visa situation, and then dealt with another blow with Michael Jepsen Jensen, and obviously people will have seen his statement about his racing commitments as well. But like I say, this isn't just the first blow. There has been blow after blow with rider situations over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, you said just now, fair share of problems. I think we've had 10 times the share of problems that we should have. It's just been one problem after another. And just going back to MJJ, all the comments on social media seem to say, "Oh, yeah, but we all knew he was going in May. It was all going in May." He didn't know himself that he was going in May. Even speaking to MJJ last week, it still wasn't clear-cut. And certainly, if the meeting in Poland last week hadn't have been rained off and rearranged for Sunday, he'd have been riding here tonight. He could get over from Poland himself, but he couldn't get his mechanics and various other things over here for tonight. So it was as close as that for this week, and the same for next week. He was seriously wanting to carry on, and we haven't seen the last of him yet. He might still come back later on in the season. His comment to me a fortnight ago, and he said it several times, is if I'm enjoying myself at Brummies, I'll continue beyond May. So it wasn't clear cut, and even last week he was still going to ride for us.
And like you say, that's the team situation there. But finally, I think we need to round off on a personal note as well, because every time you do a post-meeting interview that goes online, people mock Birmingham, they mock yourself for as CEO, sometimes the way the club is supposedly being run. But for you personally, you were a Speedway fan growing up. You've invested so heavily in Birmingham as well. And you've also lost a lot of money by trying to make this work as well.
Certainly have. I mean, I can remember going back to the old Cradley days when Cradley were finishing bottom of the league every season, and then along came Danny McCormick, and all of a sudden things changed there. I always thought I could almost model myself on Dan McCormick, but that hasn't quite happened, and as soon as you seem to get rid of one problem, another one appears. But certainly, no, I shan't be disappearing out of Speedway.
And you have gone on record in the past, in different seasons, talking about how much you've personally had to invest season on season. If you had to do some very quick maths at this point, just how much do you think it has cost you over these last 3.5 years?
Well, I tried to put that to the back of my mind, and I haven't looked into it this last 12 months, but I can remember my accountant coming up to me about this time last year and said, "Do you realise, Nigel, in the last 3 years you spent over $350,000 on Birmingham Speedway?" And that's continued for the last 12 months again, so God knows how much it is now. I don't dread to think about it.
And what is it that keeps you going?
Speedway, my love of Speedway. It's always been in my blood, and it always will be.
Nigel, many thanks for speaking to us.
Cheers.
The thoughts of the Birmingham Brummies CEO Nigel Tolley, and what has been a very turbulent week on and off the track, and sad news that the Birmingham Brummies set to be finishing their most recent part of their history at the end of this season at Perry Bar. In the next part of No Breaks, No Fear, we hear from someone else at the top of one of British Speedway's sides. Peter Facenna, one of the directors at the Glasgow Tigers, joins us in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So in this final part, then, let's focus on some things happening north of the border, particularly in Glasgow. Berwick's Sam Hagan became only the fourth rider in history to successfully defend the British Under-21 title after his victory in Glasgow on Sunday. Hagan followed in the footsteps of treble winners like Simon Stead, Robert Lambert and double winner Scott Nicholls when he topped the podium after an incredible finish. The defending champion suffered a bit of a nightmare start to the meeting with a last place in heat number 1 and had to work his way through to the semi-finals before passing Joe Thompson midway through the final to hit the front just when it mattered. Bit of carnage at the end as well, as Sam Hagan hit the fence just after the checkered flag, with Luke Harrison, who finished third, and William Cairns, who was eventually fourth, also caught up in it. Fortunately, there were no injuries and they all leapt to their feet in the end. So we will hear from Peter Facenna, one of the directors at Glasgow, in just a short while. But first, let's hear from the winner, Sam Hagan, speaking on BSN with Greg Blair.
Oh, I wanted to win it so bad again. I mean, that meant so much more than the first one. The last sort of year and half a year, I've struggled so much, and it sort of clicked last night at Berwick, and the first 3 rides I felt absolutely crap, and I thought I completely lost it, and then huge thank you to Mark Courtney. Jamie Corn they have put so much into me the last few weeks, and I feel so bad for taking half them out, but man, I feel thank you to everyone, H Engineering, Hagen Shocks, Firma Home. I mean, everyone who's helped me and everyone who doubted me, this is what I can do. So that's it, and oh man, that's unbelievable. I'm surprised I got to there. I thought I was dead there, so, but no.
Well,
that's going to be one to celebrate again, so.
Well, congratulations, Sam. We'll let you get back to the pits and get your face washed a bit there.
Sam Hagen then, the new under-21 champion, but of course retaining his title from last year, one of the few riders to retain their British under-21 championships. Now, Glasgow was the host venue once again for the British under-21 final, and it is the host venue for the world's under-21s. Those that want to get into SGP2 need to go through one of a few different qualifiers happening across Europe, one of which is happening at Glasgow on Saturday evening, and that is going to be a great programme of Speedway. Definitely worth heading down there if you can. And we've got Director of Glasgow Tigers Speedway, Peter Facenna, with us now. Peter, we'll talk about what's coming up and we'll talk about Glasgow in general in a short while. Let's start by focusing on the under-21s, though. And once again, a great meeting of Speedway, fantastic venue. Sam Hagen getting the win, and generally a great afternoon of Speedway.
Yeah, no, it was great, apart from my star man Dan getting injured, obviously, for us.
That was a down point. That was a down point.
So that was a low. But other than that, yeah, it was fantastic. It's a meeting that all the guys are desperate to win, and you can see that, how much they put into the racing. And then, yeah, the big accident in the end, and it was funny when Sam popped up from being on the deck, he's like, did I win? Because he didn't actually know if someone had passed him because of the way he went over the line. So I was like, that, yes, you've won. And finally realised that he'd won it again. So no, it was a great meeting. And as you say, the racing's good and went really well in the main.
Yeah, and now you turn your attention to the world stage with the SGP2 qualifier coming up. I think, maybe for some that Glasgow maybe slightly under the radar for a few people. It's obviously not in the Premiership, so therefore it's not on the TV as much, and certainly as much as, say the National Speedway Stadium or what have you. And even for people who have seen racing from Glasgow before, if it's more than a couple of years ago, then the track has changed quite a lot, and you've built now the facility to be up to FIM standard. Got great racing there. A lot of investment has gone into creating the track, which is now, stands alongside any of the others. So just tell us about the improvements you've made now to take Glasgow to the next level.
It's something that we pride ourselves on. Our track staff are so committed, giving up their own time, and they're round there till midnight working on it. And when it made a big difference again is when the football club left us winter before last. So that allowed us to cut even more of the football pitch away, if you like, and create even more racing lines. Now we've put the training track in the middle as well, so that'll be good in terms of bringing youngsters through. But yeah, no, it's really good. And I know that some tracks don't have that luxury. They don't own the stadium. There might be a football team that still play there. There might be a dog track that they're working within or out with. So I get that it's challenging for other tracks to be able to have the track that they might want to in an ideal setup. So we do pride ourselves on it. It's difficult, as you know, with the weather. Touchwood, we've been really fortunate that we've had unusually warm weather over the last few weeks here, to the point where you're worried about dust, which is quite unusual in Glasgow. It's normally worried about rain, but we've been fortunate, and as you say, it creates good racing, and it's great that we can show it on the world stage as well, especially like an event like this one coming up this weekend, where you've got competitors from around the world there and been able to show off. So yeah, we look forward to it.
Yeah, and next up, SGP2 qualifier Saturday night. It's a 7:00 tapes up. Get yourself down there, because you really are going to see the Grand Prix stars of the future. You can be absolutely sure of that. Talk to us about getting this event, because obviously this is heading into the world stage now. FIM event. You've had FIM events before, bit of a break, and you've had to carry out a few upgrades, haven't you, to be able to bring an event like this back to Glasgow again?
So yeah, as you know, we've got a really strong relationship with Rob and Vicky that run the Great Britain Speedway team, and we've got a good relationship with Armando Castagna. And over the years, we've had events. So we had the FIM Under-21 team semi-final, And then we had the 2 Grand Prix qualifiers in 19 and 21, and then ultimately the Grand Prix Challenge in 2022. And we always want to bring these big events to Glasgow, but as you say, the main challenge was around we didn't have a A+ air fence, because for your week in, week out racing, I've got to be honest, the foam fence is better because there's no big delays in terms of bags being burst. Now, touch wood, despite the kind of hits our new air fence has had, they've not burst a bag yet, so that's good. So ultimately, we were waiting to see whether someone would be able to get a foam fence to the A+ rating, which we need because of the speed of our track, and it just didn't happen. So that's why we hadn't had any FIM events last year. So we finally committed to getting this new air fence, which went in the winter. And then straight away, once we knew we were going to get that, we were back on. I spoke to Rob and said, right, we're going to have the A+ fence. Can we look at getting another FIM event? So, fortunately, we got the SGP2 qualifier. And then from there, again, hopefully we show ourselves in good light and then go back up the kind of ladder of what events that we can get. And hopefully one day we'll be able to get the Grand Prix Challenge again, would be the pinnacle for what we're looking for. But also, if there's, set qualifiers or whatever else, we're pretty open to any of these events if they want to come to Glasgow. And I've even said to Rob and Armando that, if you get let down at the last minute by a track that, or whatever reason, has committed to an event and then pulls out, give us a shout. We're happy to take any events, even if it's at short notice.
People will always, when they talk about Glasgow, probably same for Poole as well, why don't you make the step up to the Premiership then? You've put all this investment in, you've got a great racetrack. And for you, I know you've talked about this before, but race night is a big thing, isn't it? So no lack of ambition, because you're wanting to bring these big events to Glasgow like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ambitious. I'd like to have won the championship more than once in the 10 years that we've been running, to be honest with you. We've fallen short a few times. We've come close. But yeah, we like being in the championship. We like racing at the weekends. As I said, for us, going to a Monday or a Thursday would be a challenge. And I've not had a great in-depth look at the commercials, but I don't know if we'd necessarily be any better off because of the additional amounts we would have to pay in rider wages for, in some cases, the same rider that's going to ride, versus what additional income you would get from the TV money. So I've not had a good look at that, to be honest, but at the moment, certainly, we're happy to be in the championship. Whether there's a massive monumental change has to come during the winter with some of the noises I'm hearing about who might be running. You've obviously heard about Birmingham and some of the other challenges around some of the teams in the leagues. Who knows what will happen in the winter, whether there'll need to be a further discussion on that to see what the makeup and the structure are of both leagues going forward. We'll need to wait and see.
But ultimately, as it stands, the lure of racing on a Friday or across the weekends, that's a deal breaker for yourselves at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We like being on the weekends. Traditionally, we've always been on a Friday night. Yes, we moved to Sunday for a while, but traditionally Glasgow was always a Friday night club. Our fans enjoy it as the start of the weekend. For some of the kind of corporate stuff we do for our sponsors, if they want to be able to come and have a drink, it's obviously a bit better for them to do that on a weekend night than it is during the week. So that would be the biggest challenge for us in terms of if we were to consider a move to the Premier League, the race night situation. But ultimately, I realise that to be able to be competitive in that league, you want to have riders who are available to race. And we know that the top riders wouldn't be on Fridays because they'd be racing in Poland, etc., or in Grand Prix. So we understand the challenges of that.
Next up then, you are on the world stage though. It is an FIM event and it's the SGP2 qualifier, and you do have a spot of home talent involved. Ashton Bowden will be lining up. Unfortunately, as we know, Dan Thompson will not be able to take his place after that crash in the under-21 final, but his brother will be. So Joe Thompson steps in, and Jake Mulford will be the other regular rider who will be lining up for that one as well. So there's a little bit for the Glasgow fans to support, but welcoming some of the big names, as I say, the Grand Prix stars of the future, some riders that were in SGP2 last year and did very well, like Mikkel Andersen, going to be there as well. So it's a real exciting event for people to head down to on a bank holiday weekend as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big occasion. As you say, it's a shame for Dan, because I think he would have gone in as favourite as he was on Sunday. And I think he would have had a very, very good chance of winning on Sunday had he not been injured in his first ride. But it's good that Joe's here. Allied also sponsors Joe as well, so there's a connection there too. So we'll get behind him. Obviously, Ashton's a Glasgow rider, and we hope that Ashton can do well. He's obviously had challenges this season, but when he hits the front, he's a very, very fast rider and very difficult to pass. So hopefully he goes well. And obviously, say Jake just missed out in the final on Sunday, so another strong British contingent. And then, as you say, riders from across the world, which is great to be able to see how they got on the track. We find that most riders that come enjoy the track because it's different, it's fast because of the banking. So hopefully they come and, lets them learn a bit about Glasgow, because we're always on the lookout for, new riders coming into us and future seasons that might want to come. Because I get, if you're just a Danish rider or Polish rider or whatever, you'd probably think, Glasgow, Scotland, really? Everyone talks about going to do Speedway in England for a start. Nobody talks about going to do Speedway in the UK. So the fact that these guys can come and actually see firsthand, the facility that we do have and how good the track is, always helps us from spreading the word. And then if, in a future time we want them to consider coming to ride for us, it certainly helps that they've been and seen the setup firsthand.
So, talking about the full lineup, we know that we've got a few British lads in there as well, in Ashton Bowden, Jake Mulford and Joe Thompson. Not the full lineup here, but this is a few of the highlights. From Denmark, Mikkel Andersen, who was one of the riders that was really competing for the title in SGP2 last year, the son of Brian Andersen, if you're a fan of Speedway in the 90s. Villads Nagel from Denmark, Australia's Tate Zischke, of course, also of the Workington Comets, Slater Lightcap of the USA, also in that, and from Poland, Jan Przonski and Anthony Menzel from Poland are going to be lining up as well. So rising stars of Polish Speedway. But that said, Glasgow has caught a few well-known Polish riders out, not least Bartosz Szmarszlik on his visit as well. So it could be a test for these boys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the track's definitely smoother than it was that night. That was a night pretty late on in the season for the test match. But yeah, no, I think some of them take to it. We saw Edinburgh's rider, Oscar Polis, sadly, he's obviously stepped down, but, he took to it really, really quickly when Edinburgh were here in the first fixture of the season. As you say, Tate's had done an amazing meeting here last year, going out and beating Bomber. So it'll be really interesting to see how the boys all do.
I think it's a really good opportunity for some British riders to stake a claim for SGP2, certainly. Luke Harrison, also a track reserve, and an evening meeting as well, isn't it? 7 start.
Yeah, no, it's evening, so hopefully, maybe get the lights on late on, because good daylight up here till late on these days.
Yeah, it's like land of the midnight sun by comparison to some, I think, in Glasgow this time of year. And you must be happy on a Glasgow front with how things have gone so far this season. Of course, Edinburgh might have got the better of you early doors in the season, but for the most part, the competitive stuff, if you want to call it that, BSN Series and the Cab Direct Championship so far, unbeaten start to the season, and you've got to be happy with how things are looking.
We won the Scottish Cup, but as you know, we lost our home leg against the Edinburgh, but we still won overall. But in terms of getting into competitive action in the league, to have a 100% record is pretty phenomenal. And it's been great that, when, the boys have dovetailed really well. So when someone's not had a great night, whether that's Bomber or whether that's Leon or whoever else it might be, or even Dan had won by his own standards so far at home, the other boys have always stepped up. So to be able to have that record, and, we've not got a particularly good record at Scunthorpe, to go and take that to the superheat and win was great. So long may it continue. Obviously it's a blow to lose Dan. We're not sure yet how long he'll be out for. He's going to a fracture clinic on Thursday, and hopefully we'll hear more, but he's very, very keen to get back as soon as possible, obviously. So, so everyone, as I said, has had good meetings. We knew with Max and Freddie, they're youngsters. Some days they're going to struggle, but again, they can pop out and win a race. So, just a bit more consistency in doing that. But it's going to be tough when you come up against, 4 or 5 point reserves. When you're a 2 point reserve, we understand that. So, we're happy to be patient with everyone. And we've got a really good team spirit. That's one of the key things. I know every team says it and we say it every year, but genuinely, doing the pre-season camp really helps. The boys get to know each other and they're all out encouraging each other between races and before races. So yeah, so far so good.
And bouncing back from last year, of course, it was a bit of a down year, really uncharacteristic for you not to make it through to the playoffs and miss out on the silverware, especially being defending champions as well. It was probably how you responded, I suppose, was the question. And the team that you put together, well, it's an all-British team, number one. I think that's the thing that stands out. And a good mix of experienced talent, let's say the likes of, Bomber and Kyle Howarth, been there, seen it, they know what it's all about. And then you got really a mix of the best youngsters too. Obviously, Dan's injured at the moment, but Leon Flint, Ashton Bowden, these are all upcoming riders who are capable of competing right at the very top in future years.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to bounce back. Last year, having made the playoffs every year that we ran since we've owned the club, to miss out in the playoffs, and deservedly so, we just weren't good enough. We did want to come back and bounce back, so we did think long and hard about the team. We didn't intentionally set out to get an all-British team. We just happened that way with the riders we were looking at, but it certainly helps in terms of not having to do visa applications and worried about flights in and out and all that stuff. The fact that the guys are all based here really helps. So yeah, really pleased with how it's gone so far. And as we start every year, first thing is to make sure we make those playoffs and then try and get to the top step again as we did 2 years ago.
Just to touch on the business side of Speedway a little bit more. Obviously, you're a successful businessman yourself outside of Speedway with Allied Vehicles, Cab Direct. People will know that these names that you're involved with. But obviously, you've got the benefit of owning your stadium, so you've put a lot of investment in, a serious amount of money into that stadium to make it, one of the best now, and aiming for higher than that in Europe. But also to get people through the gates as well. We heard of the struggles in Birmingham there, but you're in Glasgow, another big urban area. How do you do it? How have you got the crowds to come through the gates to check out the Speedway at Glasgow?
So it's been a challenge. It's for us. It's always been a work in progress, and we've tried everything. We've been on TV, we've done billboards, we've handed out flyers. We find that the best way is for someone to bring someone along, someone to come and try this out. So we've done things where we will offer free tickets for people to come for the first time. We've done some partnership stuff around, some other clubs. So Glasgow Warriors are the professional rugby team that Allied also sponsors. So we opened up to offer their season tickets holders 4 tickets to come and try Speedway. And those people now get hooked because, they're used to going to watching rugby through the winter on a Friday or Saturday night. So they're sports fans that have got that kind of consistency of going to watch a sporting event. So then when they learn we are here, and, Glasgow's really hard because, as you know, 2 massive football teams, Celtic and Rangers, dominate the landscape up here, dominate all the press every single week. It's all about football. So it's hard to break into that. But I think the biggest thing is getting people to come along that are Speedway fans already, because yourself, if someone just comes along randomly and nobody helps them understand, right, 2 from each team, the helmet colours, how the scoring works, once you're in it, you know it. But if you don't, and then sadly as well that, a lot of tracks, we're quite fortunate, as you said, that we get good racing, but even in the first 2-3 heats until the track settles, it can be a race to the first bend. And unless you really explain to someone why that is and the dirt moves out, they might just think, well, why is there so many people sitting watching a race to the first bend and then follow the leader? So I think the best way is making sure that, existing fans bring people along. And if that means, taking a hit on a few free tickets, that would be my advice. That's what's worked for us. And that's what's gradually built up our fan base over the years. We continually try. Social media is obviously free. And a lot of the people we've got are volunteers as well. It's not that, we're not saying we're the experts on everything. If there's people that are, better than us or can bring something to the party and are happy to do it for the love of the club, then hand over the reins and let them get on with it. Don't be, I need to control everything. Because, certainly I'm not the oldest, even though I'm not a promoter. I'm not the oldest director in Speedway, certainly, but I'm not the youngest, and I'm not going to know about TikTok and all these Snapchat things that people a lot longer than me use. But those are the things that people should be tapping into, because we do need a younger fan base to come through. It's great that we've got the people that have always followed the club and they'll come hell or high water, whether you're doing well or not. But, we need to bring that next generation through into Speedway as well. So things we do with the mascot, the kids race, all those things are hoping that, those kids get hooked early on and continue to be Tigers fans as they grow up.
Yeah, I was going to say about the kids race is something that I know it's not unique to Glasgow. I think Plymouth do it, a couple of others do it, but it is something though that getting on the track. I think when I was a kid, I used to go watch in Bradford. I never walked on that track. You never had the opportunity, and I don't think I really walked on a speedway track till I started doing stuff for like BSN and stuff like that. And it is pretty, it's great to get out there. It's something that kids will remember.
100%, and the best thing now is so up until now they had a straightforward race on the grass. Now they get to do a loop of the training track, which they love. And a lot of kids, I know there's loads of kids, young kids obviously, that drag their parents there because they want to race against Rory the mascot and they want to go on the pitch and they want to get a wee bag of sweets and something so simple, but that young kids really enjoy. So it is a really great thing. And it's most of the fans love watching it as well because literally you've seen it, there can be a couple of hundred kids out there race. So we've now had to split it to 2 races, under 10s and over 10s, because the over 10s were sometimes knocking over the under 10s. So there's now 2 separate races, so nobody gets splatted on the training track.
We did it a couple of meetings ago when we were there with BSN for the first time. We covered the race, and actually the very close finish. We had to do. We ran a replay of the end. I think you very close to needing transponders for the kids. I think
I'll need to think about that. Yeah.
Well, great stuff. Look, thanks a lot, Peter, for talking to us a bit about the club and getting your thoughts on British Speedway as a whole. It's a tough market out there for everybody, isn't it? In any business, it's hard to get your word out there. But obviously, you're invested in a couple of fronts because, of course, with Allied, just to explain the background there, we talk about the Cab Direct Championship. That's part of your empire. The Maxi Cab Knockout Cup people will be hearing about, which is also involving you. So you're a big investor in the whole of Speedway, really, as well as your own club there that you're looking after in Glasgow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's important that we want to support the wider sport as well as just Glasgow Tigers, because it is a great sport. There's some great people, and there's a lot of passion in the sport, and it's hugely exciting. I know there's competition now with certainly in Glasgow basketball, ice hockey, all these things, but when you get a good speedway race, I think it's far more exciting than any of those sports, including football. That's my own view. When you get a real good race, when a bit like the British final or even the under-21 final at the weekend, when the bikes are just passing, you don't know who's going to win for 4 laps. It is a massively exciting sport to watch.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. So if you can get down there on Saturday for some of the best in the world trying to get themselves into SGP2, but of course some home riders as well, not least Ashton Bowden of Glasgow, but also Joe Thompson and Jake Mulford in that one as well. Unfortunate for the likes of Sam Hagan and Luke Colleen, who've got to travel to the far-flung reaches of Europe to potentially get their chance. But you're up on Saturday. On BSN, we've been talking about the sort of different hospitality we get from different clubs, and I've got to say a shout to Glasgow, who provided a full buffet platter. So yeah, there you go. You see, that was pushing the.
Well, that's boring. I get when I turn up, so you're doing it.
Oh, there you go. You stand with us, Peter. Thanks very much, Peter Facenna.
No worries.
Okay, let's have a look at the week ahead in British Speedway then. For the Row Motor All Premiership leaders Ipswich look to extend their unbeaten home record as they face Leicester on Thursday. Meanwhile, Sheffield going for points on the road, visiting Oxford Spires. Another busy bank holiday Monday sees Bellevue Open proceedings at home to Oxford at midday. Sheffield taking on Leicester with a 6:30pm start. Birmingham facing Kings Lynn in the televised fixture live on TNT Sports. Looking at the Cab Direct Championship then, and what the week ahead has in store. A few of the headline acts. Important weekend of action for the Maxi Cab KO Cup, actually. Edinburgh and Workington racing their rearranged first round tie on Friday and Saturday, starting at Armadale, moving to the GT Tyres Arena on Saturday. Scunthorpe have to pull back 20 points in their quarter-final tie at home to Oxford on Friday. Southern rivals Plymouth and Poole meet in the first leg of their tie at the Coliseum on Saturday. And at National League level, champions Leicester race their first home match in the WSRA NDL, hosting the Bellevue Colts on Sunday. And a busy weekend then sees them face the Steelers at Oleton on Monday. Oxford Chargers also in action on Sunday. as they host Edinburgh. Let's look through the full programme in order then. Thursday, Row Motor Oil Premiership, Ipswich versus Leicester. Ipswich ahead 49-41 in that one at half-time on the aggregate score. And it's Oxford versus Sheffield in the Row Motor Oil Premiership. The Oxford Spires against the Sheffield Tigers. Sheffield ahead 57-33. That clash will be live on BSN on Thursday night. Friday, Maxicab Knockout Cup quarter-final, second leg, Scunthorpe versus Oxford. Oxford are 20 points up on that one, and we've got action between Edinburgh and Workington, and they meet again the following day in the afternoon at the GT Tyres Arena. A 3 o'clock start, and Plymouth hosting Poole at 7 o'clock, and also that FIM SGP2 qualifier taking place at Glasgow, also starting at 7. Sunday, National Development League action, Leicester versus Bellevue and Oxford versus Edinburgh, both starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then a bumper programme on the bank holiday, Monday, May 26, Row Motor Oil Premiership, Bellevue versus Oxford at 12 noon. And then you got action later on, Birmingham versus Kings Lynn at 7:30, Sheffield versus Leicester at 6:30, starting earlier because they're doing the National Development League clash between the Steelers and Leicester after the main Premiership meeting. And that rounds it up for really this particular podcast. We'll be back with you with another episode next week before the next round of fixtures, which will be on Wednesday, May 28th. Hopefully that brings you up to date, and we'll look forward to joining you next week on another episode of No Breaks, No Fear. Have a fantastic bank holiday weekend. Hopefully you can take some speedway in one way or another, and we'll be back with you next week to talk about it all here on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 16th through the 26th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.